Good morning. To our special guests, welcome to Algonquin and to this memorial program in honor of the service and sacrifice of Army Specialist Brian Arsenault and others on behalf of our country and way of life. Joining us today is the family of Brian. Brian was a 2004 graduate of Algonquin. His parents, Leslie and Dan, and his sister, Lindsay, a 2011 graduate. Lindsay will talk to us later. In our midst are several members of the military veterans. We thank you for being here today, and we thank you for your service. Among our guests are members of our town's governments, police and fire, and members of our district school committees. Christine Johnson, our superintendent, is also with us this morning. This event is sponsored by the Mass Fallen Heroes organization, whose mission it is to increase awareness and support for our uniformed service members and their families. Dan Magoon is their executive director. He's with us today, and he'll also talk later. Brian was quite a hockey player in his day, and current members of our boys hockey team are here with their coach, Coach Capello. Thank you, boys. I ask those that follow me to please introduce themselves to you. Now, would you all please stand for our pep band's playing of the Star-Spangled Banner? Thank you so much. Now I'd like to introduce Dan Magoon from the Mass Fallen Heroes organization. Dan?
Good morning. How's everybody doing? I'm going to try to get you guys fired up. I know this is a tremendous honor for me to be here today with the Arsenault family, representing the organization that we founded in 2010. I'm the executive director, but at the end of the day, I'm just a veteran. I got to serve my country, and I got to come home, and I got to start a life and live the American dream. And, I have my freedoms today because of the brothers and sisters that I lost when I was in service. I, too, served at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, same as Brian. I was in from 2003 in the invasion of Iraq, and I did 2 tours in Afghanistan. I got out in 2007. We started this mission for things like today, to remember and honor our brothers and sisters, to bring the families of the fallen together, and to talk about why it is we do what we do. So I will be getting into some of those details of what it is the mission does on a daily basis, and things about Patriot Week. We'll share a video and talk about what it is to honor their sacrifice. So before I start, I just want to thank Superintendent Johnson, the elected officials that join us today, Northborough Police, Fire, the folks that have come in, and of course you, the students, because that is why it's so important for us to share our message and talk about our mission. I also like to recognize the Gold Star families that are with us today. Obviously, the Arsenaults are here. I know there's some other Gold Star families, and the veterans that are in the room. Thank you for your service, and the Gold Star families for your sacrifice. And to the students, how many of you know someone right now who's on active duty serving in the military? Please raise your hand. How many of you have a parent or a sibling who is currently serving in the military? You guys mind standing up? I want to say thank you to you guys and girls too, because it's not just one person who serves in the military. It's the entire family. So you guys are just as affected in the service of your loved one, just as anybody else in this room who knows someone's in service. So a salute to you guys and to your family members, and please, send our thanks and gratitude for their service. So like I said, I had the fortune of making it home. I did 3 tours. I went to the nastiest places in this country, in this world, and I made it back. My best friends didn't. Guys I served with didn't. My troops didn't. And when I came home, I struggled. A lot of us struggled. We continue to struggle. And that's how this mission was born, because we're carrying guilt of our service. Obviously, we're proud people, we're proud veterans, but we're also running into, brick walls of transition, employment, mental health, you name it. And we got together and we found a common goal to help one another, the veterans that were in the room. But we also saw another, part of our community that was pretty much forgotten about, and those are our Gold Star families. Now, I know this community and I know this school knows what a Gold Star family is because of your connection to the Arsenault family and the way that this community has stepped up over the years to support the family and understand the sacrifices of our fallen. But many people in America don't know what a Gold Star family is. They don't understand the sacrifice of families, the things they go through when someone goes off to serve, the men and women, the folks who just stood up. No one understands what goes on when their loved one goes off to service. So with that being said, we formed a group of vets, just regular people, cops, firefighters, union members, electricians, you name it. I mean, we had cops, we had robbers, we had the good, we had the bad, but we were all there to help one another as veterans. And our Gold Star families was something that was near and dear to us, because we promised our brothers and sisters when we were overseas that we wouldn't forget them, we'd take care of their families, and would make sure that their sacrifice wasn't forgotten. And Mass Fallen Heroes was born, and this was 2010. A lot of us were carrying, some guilt for things that had happened in our lifetime, in our generation, 9/11, terrorist attacks, Iraq, Afghanistan, ISIS, you name it. And we kind of missed the military. And this was kind of our new way of connecting. So, on top of service, we came home, we were lucky, and this organization was started. In the last 7 years, we've done some amazing things. We've been able to bring our families and our communities together in Massachusetts, our Gold Star families. We've been able to provide programs and services for them, and working with our other sister organizations that support the families the same way. And we've been able to support our brothers and sisters who came home, our veterans and active duty members. And it's been an amazing journey. And for me to stand here today in front of you all and have this opportunity to share our mission and talk about Patriot Week and talk about some of the successes we've had, I want you all to know you are part of that success. The fact that we're able to come together and educate and talk about what the mission is and what real life is, and the fact that we're a country that's still at war and men and women are still going into the military, volunteering to serve this country, is really what we do is all about. And this is a new part of our program. It's a new part of our mission. We launched it last year. We were in this school last year. We're in 38 other schools across the Commonwealth in these 2 weeks. And this week, we start Patriot Week. We created Patriot Week as an anchor, as an organization, and tying Armed Forces Day and Memorial Day together. And the important part of that is a lot of folks don't understand what Memorial Day is. And it was important for us to remind not only our Commonwealth, but also our communities that Memorial Day is not about mattress sales. It's not about sparking the grill. It's not about going to the Cape. It's about the men and women that we're honoring, not only that weekend and that day, but every day when we wake up. So Patriot Week is a ton of events. You know, check out the website. You know, we have concerts, we have community events. We're here Sunday, rededicating a Vietnam memorial, McPhee Ellsworth Park. And it's really about continuing to educate and talk about our mission.
For guys like me, like every day is Memorial Day, you know? There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about my friends and think about, you know, their families. And I used to think like, well, if somebody's not gonna come home, I hope it's me and not one of these guys.
We're here because we're supposed to be here. Because we owe it to them. Because we swore we'd never forget. Because we have a creed that says we'll leave no man behind. And if we did not take the time out to honor them, we'd be leaving them behind. If we did not work to support their Gold Star families, we'd be leaving them behind. And if we did not work hard to empower the veterans that served alongside them, we'd be leaving them behind.
So we came in on Blackhawks, and we were all sitting in the doors of the aircraft. As soon as we touched down, we would jump off as fast as we can. At that point, they knew you were there because you just flew 4 Blackhawks over their house. As soon as the door kicks, we would all run in, trying to find the guy. I come around the corner, and there's a girl standing right there. There's a 2-year-old girl standing right there. My muzzle's right in her face, and the contrast to that was very startling to me because I have kids, and this kid is just like any other kid, and this is where they're growing up. Everything is very evident at that moment in time, how good we have it. And Memorial Day really sends a message that this is not we can't take this for granted. This doesn't just happen. And it happens because of these soldiers that we're honoring that day.
For Memorial Day, I think it's important for them to realize that it is specifically for the men and women who have died while serving their country.
For them to learn about and understand and appreciate the sacrifice that has been made so that they can live with freedoms.
They're serving this country to make this a safer place for them to grow, to have freedom of speech, to be able to go to school.
We haven't always been in this position that we're in, and we're here because we've been defending it, and we've been, you know, we fought for it.
To keep them safe, to protect their freedoms, for people that are just being born.
All of this comes at a cost, and too few of us have been willing to pay that cost, but they have paid it, and we do have an obligation to remember them.
On the last day, on a mountaintop in Afghanistan, when one of his fellow soldiers had been hit by an RPG and lay in an open field on the top of the mountain, exposed to enemy fire from 3 different directions, my son looked out and said, "I'm going to get him." He rushed out to get the young 22-year-old private, Ryan Bradbury. And he was driven back by fire from anywhere from 50 to 80 Taliban insurgents. But he could never give up. So he went out a third time. And now it seemed every single Taliban gun was aimed at him because they all knew where he was at that point. And he was hit by an RPG and he was killed. And for that effort, he was awarded the Medal of Honor.
I don't know that I could ever put into words how much the Gold Star families mean to guys like me. I mean, they're basically my family.
They're still here. They have to continue mission and drive on with life. That, to me, is the ultimate sacrifice.
As empathetic as others can be, it's just different when somebody else has been through it. There's just a silence, but it's an understanding.
We have to step back and still honor our own son and the others who have fallen. The sacrifice is immense, but our liberty and our freedom is unmatchable in this world.
It's really important to veterans that other people notice days that are important to us.
Veterans exist around you all the time. Different walks of life. You probably see me in the city of Boston, but you would never know that I'm a veteran. The Marine Corps, and especially combat, taught me it's not about me. Especially leading Marines into combat, it's not about me, it's about them first. My goal is that the civilian side will have that same thought process as well.
I think it's important to respect them and to honor them for their duty and commitment.
Thanks for your service. I know people say that a lot, but for a little kid to say something like that, it's a special feeling.
When we don't have that connection to veterans and military in our everyday lives, it can really tend to separate us from what these people have done for us.
It's a two-way street. This isn't a one-way road. We can both help each other when we all come together. That's what I believe, wholeheartedly.
There are certain characteristics that are going to carry you in life, and the mainstays of the military, they're going to benefit you no matter what you do. You know, honor, courage, commitment, integrity.
Making our communities better, helping people that don't have enough.
To try to do what's morally right when no one's watching.
He's like the thousands of others, young men and women that volunteered to serve our country in a time of war. I remember talking about it with him, and I said, "You want to be a Marine?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "All right, can you be the Marine that, guards the president, wears the dress blues and looks cool?" He said, "No, Dad, I'm going to be an infantry, And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because when I'm older, I'm going to say I served my country in a time of war."
My kids listen to the names that they read off of the dead, and I want to make that connection that those are real people, and they died, and they did it willingly, and they did it for us, all of us. They gave their lives so that we could have what we have. And so Memorial Day is very, very good at showing people what their town has given, and really by extension what this nation has given, so they can enjoy what they have.
And I think it allows us to kind of keep that person alive and that spirit alive. And I think really as a survivor, that's the best you can hope for, is that you're remembered.
It's a great feeling to know that my brothers and my sisters that have died have not died in vain. Their purpose in life was to show people how beautiful life is.
That video sums up what we're all about, and recognizing and honoring the men and women that we've lost, bringing the families together to support them, and empowering them and the veterans to move forward in remembering the sacrifices of not only their service in the veteran community, but also the sacrifice of the families. And before I introduce Lindsay, I just ask all of you one simple thing. In the next week, and as we go into Memorial Day, and you guys are all Facebooking and tweeting and Instagramming, follow us on social media. look at the things that we're doing throughout the Commonwealth and see the impact that we're having with our families and our veterans, and be a part of it. Take part in a small event. Find a hero square in your neighborhood. Find an old memorial. Do something to pay it forward to honor the sacrifices of those men and women that we're recognizing dating back to the Civil War. And remember that Memorial Day isn't just about a long weekend and the start of summer. It's about these families, it's about the men and women that are still in service, and it's about the folks that didn't make it home. And with that, I want to introduce Lindsay Arsenault, who is a good friend of mine. She's like a sister, almost. And, you know, obviously with the loss of Brian, we came together, but that's why we're here. And I love you, I love the family, and I love Brian. So without further ado, Lindsay Arsenault.
Good morning. I'm always honored and humbled when I get to speak in front of our own community. I've spoken at a few events over the past few years, and it really surprised me. Monday evening we came and we spoke to present Brian's scholarship for the first year at senior night, and my fiance had asked me, he's like, you know what you're gonna say? Like, yeah, it's, we're fine, it's just at the high school. It's like, all right, are you nervous? I said, no, it's, it's something small. And the second I got up to this podium on Monday night, I almost lost it. There's something so special to me about this high school, the teachers, the community that have all been by our side since day one. The first Memorial Day was only 7 months after Brian was killed in action. That was the first time I began realizing that we were not remembering what Memorial Day was really about. I began seeing commercials for mattress sales, car sales, home improvement, nothing that seemed to connect with the true meaning. One of the worst things I heard was Happy Memorial Day, and I couldn't wrap my head around what people thought that meant. So within the first year, I didn't want to have a chip on my shoulder, and I thought, maybe this is just how people treat it. And I thought I was being sensitive to it. But as time went on, I realized that it's wrong. We have a duty to honor our fallen. This week I had a conversation with Maureen Sargent, who's with us today. She's the sister of Neil Ellsworth. I talked to her about a community project that we wanted to do, and I was stopped in my tracks when she told me that they just came up on the 50-year anniversary of her brother's passing. For some reason, that time frame to me just seemed unimaginable. I can only hope that in 50 years that we're still doing the same things to honor our fallen, like we're doing at the Ellsworth McAfee Park. So that brings us to what you can do to honor. On Memorial Day, take some time to reflect, to think about Brian and all of the servicemen and women like him who gave their lives for us. A good friend of all of ours, Chris Lassard, he spoke last year at this education program, and there was one thing that he always said, was that they gave their lives, and that really resonated with me. Brian knew exactly what he was getting into, what he was doing, and what it might come down to. On Memorial Day, take some time, visit a memorial, enjoy the time with your friends and family, because you can. Have a toast of water, and thank them. Thank you.
And now we'd like to hear from one of the students who, in this first year of the scholarship in Brian's name, received that scholarship. So I'd like to call forward Nathan Mott to come up and read from his essay for that scholarship. Nathan?
Testing. In the traditional sense, patriotism can be defined as an intense support for one's country or feelings of pride for one's homeland. When the term patriotism is used, this is the meaning that usually comes to mind. However, I believe that patriotism embodies a wide array of aspects and qualities that go beyond simply a support for one's country. To me, patriotism means selflessly dedicating oneself to the greater good, even when no recognition is guaranteed. Having a sense of pride for one's country is one thing, but serving that country selflessly and wholeheartedly without expectation of reward is a completely different type of patriotism. This is what sets our nation's soldiers and military personnel apart from the patriotic citizens of the United States, because it is the soldiers who give up their lives in the pursuit of a greater good, even when we may not recognize what they do on a daily basis. Although they do possess a strong feeling of pride to be an American, no amount of pride can compare to the true patriotism that men and women all across America embody when they serve in our armed forces. These American heroes go above and beyond the most concrete definition of patriotism by keeping our nation's best interest in mind with every move that they make, and they take every possible precaution to ensure that the citizens of the United States can live safe lives and continue our strong American legacy. When soldiers decide to fight on the front lines and put themselves in harm's way, do they have their own best interests in mind? No. These brave men and women achieve the utmost level of selflessness and patriotism by giving up their lives for the safety of the people of our nation, many of whom are filled with hate and disdain towards the way our military is run. Regardless of the decisions that our country may make, no one can deny that our soldiers are the only ones that can truly be called patriotic. I have a sincere respect for anyone who has served or is currently serving in the military, and their dedication and patriotism does not go unnoticed. It is people like Brian Arsenault that will leave a long-lasting legacy for their selfless duties in the military, and for that I am forever thankful. Thank you.
Nathan's essay is a short glimpse of the amazing essays that we received this year. What amazed me was how much people really tried to connect with Brian. Some of them talked to friends, learned about his hockey. He played hockey all 4 years, and that was something that a lot of people really connected with. And it meant a lot to us to see Brian's name be used and to read his name in the essays. As I wrap this up today, there's one thing that I really want to say with everyone, is that Memorial Day should be timeless. There should be no end to when we stop honoring these heroes. Going back to the Ellsworth McAfees, I think it's really amazing that 50 years down the road, something like this can be done. And I invite anyone who's available on Sunday to come join us. We'll be at the Ellsworth McAfee Park, right on 135. And I hope you enjoy your Memorial Days, and I hope that you take some time to reflect on what it really means. And Tom Mead will close us out here.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Nathan, and Ryan Nicholson, the other award winner of the scholarship for this year. In closing, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. We as a school look forward to the installation of the plaque in honor of Brian and hope it will serve as a gentle yet insistent reminder of the meaning of service to our students and staff. That plaque and that hallway will be known as Brian's Way. And may the spirit of Brian Arsenault live on in the earnest and sincere efforts of our students, our student athletes, and our staff. Thank you all for coming today.